Hello and welcome to Just the Issue, your political free zone. On this channel we will discuss just the issue without the involvement of politics. There will be no mention of political parties, politicians, or ideologies such as progressive or conservative. I will start us off with a proposal. Then we will share and exchange our thoughts and ideas by contributing to the comments section. If you would like to respond to a comment, please feel free to do so, but always be respectful. Remember, this channel is a safe space for the sharing of ideas. If you like the idea of Just the Issue, please click on the subscribe button. And now let's discuss Just the Issue. Welcome to part 2 of 2, the end of the Social Security Trust Funds. My proposal is to end the Social Security Trust Funds and replacing them with a system that will increase your benefits and take control of your money from the government and giving it to you. I propose to have the money go into a 401k style of fund. Let's call it a retirement security plan, or RSP. Each person would have their own account in a plan like a 401k. I understand that there is some risk involved. In fact, in the example I provide, for a person who worked from 1979 to 2018, the stock market had losses in 9 of those years, totaling 109%, and they were still better off than the current Social Security system. Along with the federal government, I am not comfortable with Wall Street having access to the money. The government already has a 401k type of fund for federal employees called the Thrift Savings Plan, or TSP. It is not part of any private investment firm and is overseen by a board, the Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board. Its members are appointed by the President and the Senate. I propose a mirror image of this fund for the RSP and managed by the same TSP board. The TSP Fund has been around for over 3 decades, and as of December of 2019, it manages over $769 billion in assets. Please take the time to view the plan at www.tsp.gov. The only difference is withdrawals from the fund would be authorized by the Social Security Administration. This fund has a number of investing options without being too complex. There are 5 main funds made up of 2 bond funds and 3 stock funds, along with a group of funds called life cycle funds, which are simply a blend of those 5 main funds. The safest fund is the G fund, made up of U.S. government treasuries. The other bond fund is the F fund, made up of high quality fixed income securities, including government bonds. The other 3 funds are stock funds. The C fund reflects the S&P 500, which holds common stock in the top 500 U.S. companies spread across different sectors. The next fund is the S fund, which is invested into mid-sized U.S. companies that are not in the S&P 500. This includes companies such as Tesla, T-Mobile, and Square. The last stock fund is the I fund, which is made up of international stocks, such as Nestle and Toyota. The 5 life cycle funds are diversified, made up of a combination of these 5 funds. The combination is determined by how far away your retirement is. When retirement is further away, the majority is invested into stock funds, and as retirement approaches, becomes more conservative, with the majority being invested into the G fund. To see how this RSP would work, I created an account for an individual who earned the federal minimum wage for 40 years, from age 22 to 62, from 1979 to 2018. In this account, the person invested the 12.4% of FICA tax from their paychecks into the riskiest fund, the C fund, the S&P 500 fund, from 1979 to 2018. I used charts that provided the percentage of increase or decrease the stock market had for each of these years, including reinvested dividends. Even with 9 years showing losses, at the end of the 40 years, this worker's account grew to $460,000. The federal minimum wage for 2018, the year this person retired, was $7.25 per hour. They would have earned $15,080 that year. If at the time of retirement, the money was transferred into the more conservative lifestyle income fund, they would earn between 3 and 4% a year on average. This means while earning an average of 3.5% a year and earning approximately $16,000, they could withdraw the same amount they were earning, $15,000. This would mean no loss of income for this person, unlike Social Security, with an estimated monthly benefit of approximately $11,600. They could also provide themselves with a 2 to 3% COLA each year, with the 3 to 4% the account would earn. And the money would last into their 90s. In the end, they would actually have an increase in take-home pay because, unlike wages, no FICA taxes are being withheld, which would mean an extra $1,100 a year. If this is good or better for those who earned the minimum wage, for those who earn more, the investment and the return would increase as well. Also, since you have already paid federal income tax on the FICA tax that was withheld from your paycheck, I propose that 1/2 of any payout from this plan that you would receive would not be subject to federal income tax. Now that the retirement portion of Social Security has been saved, the concern I have is for those few who need the survivors and disability benefits. As of December of 2018, 9% of those receiving Social Security benefits were survivors of deceased workers. 3% were the spouse and children of disabled workers. And disabled workers made up 14% of those receiving benefits. I propose providing a couple of options. One is for the surviving spouse, that would allow them to simply transfer the funds into their own RSP account. The second option is to provide a monthly payment to the survivor or disabled individual. I propose finding the average of the disabled or deceased individual's highest 5 consecutive years of salary and subtract the FICA tax rate of 7.65% from it, in the end, having an amount equal to 92.35% as their annual benefit amount. This would mean no loss of income or take-home pay, the full replacement of the lost income. I chose the highest 5 consecutive years instead of the last 5 because if someone has a medical condition, sometimes their income decreases. This benefit would be subject to the same dollar amount limit as the FICA wage cap. For 2020, the FICA wage cap is $137,700. This means that FICA tax is only withheld on the first $137,700 of your wages. These survivors and disability payments would be funded by first using the life expectancy tables to find the amount to withdraw from their RSP account. Then the difference between that amount and the average high 5, if any, would be supplemented by funds from a special RSP, Survivors and Disability Supplemental Fund that's created for this purpose. To ensure that these funds don't end up in a government trust fund and replaced with IOUs, it would be invested into the C and S funds, the U.S. stock funds. This RSP Survivors and Disability Supplemental Fund account would receive abandoned funds, which would be the undistributed monies of deceased individuals that do not have a spouse or dependent children. A transition into this new style of Social Security would begin for those starting their working career the 1st of January after the RSP system is set up and operational. In the beginning, because those starting their working careers are usually very young, there should be a much smaller demand for the disability and survivors benefits. But in case there is not enough abandoned funds to support the benefits needed, we may need a temporary tax of 1/8 of 1% on wages above the federal minimum wage. This would apply only to those workers in the new system. This money would go directly into the special C and S funds designated for the disability and survivors supplemental funds. Once this fund would have a surplus of 10% over what is needed as a reserve, the 1/8 of 1% tax would end. What needs to be addressed with the current system is its dependency on the Social Security taxes withheld from today's workers to fund the current obligations of those that are presently retired. Once the money starts going into the new system, this will cause a funding problem for the current Social Security system. The problem is, how do you end a Ponzi scheme? During the transition, the current system will need to become self-sufficient. For this to happen without cutting the benefits any further, revenues must be increased. This could be accomplished by a combination of changes for those in the current existing system only. The first step would be over an 8 5-year period to increase the employer's and employee's share of FICA taxes by 0.1% per year, from 6.2% to 7%. Second, to increase the FICA wage cap for those in the current system to the first $160,000 of wages. Then, this amount would increase for inflation each year. The third leg, which can be reduced, then eliminated, once the need to fund the baby boomer generation ends, is a separate tax on the wages above the FICA wage cap. The separate tax would be at a rate of 0.5% on the wages between the FICA wage cap and $300,000. Then 1% on the wages above $300,000. I am not an actuary. All of the percentages I have mentioned are simply estimates that I believe may work. They are based on information contained in responses by the actuaries from the Congressional Budget Office when calculating estimates related to bills proposed by members of Congress to address this issue. The percentages for maintaining the current system may need to be adjusted, but that is okay. What is important is that we have a foundation to begin, to build upon, one that is needed. In summary, Social Security, as it is now, needs to be retired. It's going broke. Again, for the third time. Twice they have reduced your benefits, trying to save it. It needs to be placed on life support until it is no longer needed. This retirement savings plan proposal creates an account for you and ensures that only you have access to your money. And unlike today's Social Security, when you pass on, any unused savings can be transferred into your spouse's RSP account. Please contribute and exchange your thoughts and ideas on how to save Social Security in the comments section, along with any recommendations for future subjects. And if you like the idea of just the issue, then please click on the subscribe button